You cannot turn the Southeast into a war front because that is what is happening right now. The Southeast has become the new war front, no more the Northwest and the Boko Haram insurgents. We hear little or less about them these days. All we hear every day when you wake up, IPOB this, IPOB that.
This is the stairs.
The senseless killing of our people in the Southeast is unbecoming. On a daily basis, our people, our men, our women, and our children are being murdered by a group whom I don't know, but some people claim to be IPOB. This is not the goal of IPOB, the maiming and killing of innocent civilians is not the ideology on which IPOB was formed by Nnamdi Kanu, the originator. It appears to me that there has been a return to the era of rafaz, when our people were being lied to and then exploited financially for his own personal gain. That era seems to have come back. Just yesterday, Monday the 18th, a lot of the vigilantes in Anambra, including the PG of a community, was gruesomely murdered by a group of unknown gunmen. The Southeast is fast becoming deserted because on a daily basis, people are afraid whether they will be alive to see the next day. When you fight for independence, when you fight for the emancipation of your people, you do not do so on the altar of mass killing of your own, of the very same people you claim you are fighting for their freedom. First of all, there is an Igbo proverb that says, "N'Igbo odike n'ogu imezi, mgbe o ruru ogama iya achọ dike." You cannot continually kill, maim, and waste the life of our vibrant youth. If you must fight for Biafra, just like Nnamdi Kanu was doing, you must fight, first of all, an ideological war. Because when you change the mentality of a people, you will have a cohesive force. You will have a unified force and a unified front. Now, the youth of the Southeast are actually largely unemployed, especially those who live here in the Southeast. A greater percentage of them live off their daily earnings to actually feed themselves and their immediate family. And now the continuous sit at home that occurs every Monday in the Southeast has become an abnormality given the rising inflation in the country. A man who earns 5 to 15,000 on a daily basis, if you check, spends roughly more than that every 2 days. And you know, a workman or a craftsman that does some kind of work, jobs are not steady. And then when he manages to get them, the speed at which those money goes out is alarming, given the rising inflation, the prices of things, commodities in the market, the price of fuel, the rising, the dollar naira discrepancy. Now, I feel that the motive of the sit at home has actually been defeated. Rather, it is being used as a witch hunting tool to hunt down political enemies or people who they see as not being in line with the ideology the current man, Simon Ekpa, is having. You cannot turn the Southeast into a war front because that is what is happening right now. The Southeast has become the new war front, no more the Northwest and the Boko Haram insurgents. We hear little or less about them these days. All we hear every day when you wake up, IPOB this, IPOB that. Igbo people by nature are not terrorists. Yes, we can be very rebellious when we feel aggrieved over some certain issues. We can be rebellious, but we are not terrorists by nature. Our Igbo tradition has made it that human blood is held to a high esteem. You do not waste an individual's blood on the altar of your own personal agenda. I don't know the agenda of the second person in question, but what I see is a lot of deception. What I see is a lot of lust for power. Nnamdi Kanu, before his detention, was very ideological about his wishes. When he established ESN, it wasn't to kill our own very people. Now there have been successes with ESN that Nnamdi Kanu had established, which aim was to chase away the marauding Fulani headsmen who were in the bushes, maiming, killing, and destroying the farmlands of our farmers. Those Fulani headsmen, I believe, has been handled. And now the man in charge is going about the cleansing of the Southeast. I don't know to what purpose. Because when you go about destroying businesses, when you go about creating a lot of homeless people, when you go about causing homelessness, or even creating a huge number of the motherless and fatherless children, you are creating a gigantic problem in the Southeast that the ripple effect is already being felt. Now, the sit at home on its own is distorting the revenue base of the government. Every government knows the enormity of the money that comes in daily, especially the first day of the week, which is Monday. When states lose money, they feel the pain of it. And then we still constantly expect them to be up and doing in their discharge of duty. The primary duty of any government is, one, the protection of life and property, and for the prosperity of their own people. Even though one might argue that those in government have failed. We most often blame those in the federal government. We leave aside those at the state level. Majority of our state governors have failed. I must give kudos to some very few who are making sure that all hands are on deck towards a rapacious development of their state. Someone like Peter Mba, Dave Umar, he did so in Ebonyi State. And then you can also talk about the governor of Abia State. But we must, as a people, unify to make the Southeast the dream, the sinusoid of every other region. When you go to Ogun State, when you go to Lagos, when you go to Ibadan, you see that these states are highly industrialized. This is the way to go for the Igbo people. And you cannot drive home, you cannot bring home foreign investment. You cannot bring home even local investors to have a level playing ground to work in the Southeast when insurgency has become the order of the day. A lot of Igbo people are willing to come back home and invest in the Southeast, create jobs for Igbo youth. If a lot of the Igbo youth were gainfully employed, I assure you, a lot of them wouldn't go joining a militant group. Even those who do also does that with a hindsight that they have a job with which to provide for their family. But because there is hunger in the land, a lot of our youths have no option than to take the bait, which some of these ideologies that are being brought up to the fore is thriving. Joblessness is one of the causes. And then you see a lot of Igbo experts, a lot of vibrant Igbo young men, they troop in their masses to the southwest and to other regions, not just for safety, but also for economic freedom. And then you see someone who sits somewhere in Finland with his propaganda machine, destroying the little progress that Igbo people have made. If we must have independence, if there must be a true liberation of Ndi Igbo, it must start from the mind. Now, I can tell you that political independence without economic independence has always become the bane of even the Nigerian state. We talk about discrimination, but sometimes if we look in hindsight and then we do soul searching, you discover that even down here in the southeast, the same people who are fighting to have a country, that there are a lot of elements in this same society who are discriminated against and disenfranchised and sometimes economically disadvantaged because you claim that those people are persona non grata, that they are descendants of slaves and they are of the Osu caste system. Now you point at accusing fingers, but you forget that when you point one hand forward in accusation, four are pointing against you. We must first of all, as Igbo people, find a way to reconcile the grievances at home, form a common front, and then move forward. I believe that if we have a unified front as an Igbo people, we do not need arms. We do not need the shedding of innocent blood. All we need is a sincere leader, someone probably like Peter Obi, someone probably like Nnamdi Kanu, who has a very sincere ideology of what he wants for Ndi Igbo. Not someone who goes around organizing matches and then bringing street urchins in Europe or elsewhere to play matches in the name that is a Biafran national team. We have Biafrans, or we have Igbo people, or people of the southeast and even south-south who are based abroad. If you want to form a national team, you have them. They have descendants who are also there abroad. And then you're bringing white people. The mistakes of Raf Wazurike must and will and should not be repeated, where an individual through his propaganda machine goes about raising money and then enriching himself. Now, the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, even while in the courtroom, had told us that his dream is not for the people who he's fighting for their liberation to be killed, but rather for them to be liberated economically and politically. Now, if you kill all those you claim to be fighting for their freedom, who will you rule? If you destroy the southeast, if you turn the southeast to the new Zambeza forest, or you turn the southeast to the new Sudan, at independence, where will you start from? Okay, I ask you, peradventure, when you go about hunting and killing the members of the Nigerian police, who, of course, or unfortunately, so many of them currently in the southeast are Igbo people. You go about killing and then calling them saboteurs. These people are gainfully employed. They are there for the protection of life and properties, even though we know the extreme nature of some of those security architecture in extorting and then even sometimes doing some uncalled stuff. I've been victim of the police. I've been arrested. I've spent 14 days in detention for no just reason. Basically, false accusation that I was a member of ESN. Now, the political class in Igbo land too, they have failed us. All they care about is their personal welfare and the welfare of their own family. The people they govern, they care less about. The people they claim to represent, they care less about. All they care about is their pocket and that of their families. The way forward for Ndi Igbo is not this senseless killing. The event of yesterday is so gully that even the Boko Haram, I'm not sure that Boko Haram have destroyed or killed the number of people that is being killed currently in the southeast. A lot of villages are running away for their lives. A lot of them have become deserted because of the activities of some unknown gun people. The government on their own part, at the federal level, are not very sincere about these things. Because you know that Nnamdi Kanu is the problem to you, right? And then you know that he's also the solution to that problem. Why not release Nnamdi Kanu? And then we know if truly he is the terrorist you claim he is. For me, I believe that in as much as you see Nnamdi Kanu as a terrorist, I must remind you that another man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Nnamdi Kanu has become a symbol of liberation to a mass number of Ndi Igbo. A perpetual or continuous detention of this young man will continually put the Southeast in the map of rising insurgency and terrorism. A sincere approach must be adopted. Release Nnamdi Kanu. Set that young man free. You have nothing against him, but still yet you keep him. There was Sunday Igboho. Sunday Igboho was released unconditionally and is walking around free. You look at Asari Dokubo and all his threatening utterances against the federal government, and nobody seems to be doing anything. What people just seems to laugh over it. They call him a clown. They call him names, but he's serious. He's been given government contract over the years, and each time contracts are not awarded to him, he comes out like a bull in the china shop, making utterances and making threats, and nobody is arresting him. Are there some more superior individuals in this country called Nigeria? These are people that the government sees as a no-go area. You don't touch them. Meanwhile, some other people must be crippled and they must be destroyed at all costs. I blame the federal government for what is happening in the Southeast. Because if the federal government have taken a proactive measures towards addressing the grievances of the Southeasterners, the complete alienation of the Southeast in the presidency, nobody will believe any ideology seeking for a separate entity called Biafra. But the federal government and the other divergent ethnic nationalities seems to have had this unwritten agreement to make sure that the Southeast, after the loss of the war, remains perpetually down and subjugated as slaves. The Southeast is treated as slaves in their own land. You come to the Southeast, most times you see little or no federal government presence. Meanwhile, you go to other regions, you see fast developing projects everywhere, cut across the different states of the Southwest, the Northwest, and other parts of Nigeria, except the Southeast. Are we treated as conquered people? The answer is yes, we are treated as conquered people. And this is the reason for the resistance we are seeing. Even though to me, I can tell you that such level of extremism must be curtailed. For someone like Simon Ekpa, I urge him to soft pedal on what he's doing in the Southeast. Because one day we look at this in hindsight, and then we will live to regret the actions and the inactions of our behaviors. The Southeast belongs to all of us. We are all jus solis and jus sanguis of this Southeast. Nobody is a higher stakeholder in the Southeast. We are all equal stakeholders in this Southeast. And then if we have ideological differences, we do not resolve ideological differences by eliminating an individual or a group of individuals who are going about their own businesses. If you kill everybody, listen, in life you must have enemies. And then if you kill all your enemies, what will propel you to do harder work? You need, in a sane society, you live, even when those you're living with has a striking ideological difference from what you have. I tell you, the wanton killing and senseless destruction of lives and property and the economic instability in the Southeast has got to stop. The time to stop that is now.